Well, hello. Good morning. It's certainly morning here in Australia. And it's afternoon or late afternoon, early evening for you there over in the USA or Canada. Uh, Looking forward to hosting this Profit Time Masterclass for you today on the topic of your team. Before we get started, I can't see a thing. I can see that I've got some participants rolling in. I can see some names. However, it'd be really awesome if you would get familiar with the chat box, if you would pop in there who you are. Well, I know who you are, where you're listening in from today. And that will also give me confirmation that you can hear me, but also see my screen. So right now we've got the picture up there of your team. So if you wouldn't mind getting familiar with that chat box, letting me know who's here. Oh, wow, Dublin, Ireland. Thank you, Artem. Thanks, Amanda. I appreciate that. Kevin from Vancouver. Hello, Carolyn. Mike from Atlanta, New York City. And we've got some Australians on the line too. Thank you for being here. Hey, John, you're at home and you might pour yourself a scotch. Well, I don't know if this is going to be super riveting or scotch worthy, but I am going to deliver a heap of value to you. Angie from Sarasota. Angie, I was in Sarasota in January 2024. Loved it. Took myself for a nice run around the river or the lake there. St. John's, Newfoundland, San Diego, California. Hey, everyone. Josh from Denver. I'm going to be seeing you later this week, Josh. Great to have you on the call. So, team, I appreciate you all for being here. You are giving me about 45 minutes of your time today. And I, in exchange, are going to give you, hopefully, a heap of value to help you on your way with building your team. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Wendy Miller. I'm a high performance coach and implementation specialist here at Profit Time. And I just celebrated my 11th anniversary of coaching. And that's specifically coaching our methodologies to accounting firms all over the world. In those 11 years, we've taken this work, obviously, Australia and New Zealand, through to the UK, Europe. We've been to Sweden and Finland even. That was interesting. I did have a translator in Finland. And of course, Canada and America. So it's been a wild ride. And it also shows you the value of quality team, right? I think it's a great segue because I am a team member and have been a team member for much of my life. So that's a pretty cool segue. And today I am going to talk to you about your team, essentially the topic of how to build a team that wins, how to find them, hire them, develop them, and retain them. Now, there is a ton of information on this topic. Rob has recently released a new book called Profit and Time, and there is a whole chapter dedicated to building your team in that book. So if you don't have your hands on that, I suggest that you head on over to our website and find out how you can get that. But I'm also going to walk you through some other ideas that Rob may not have put into his book, because these are ideas that I also bring to the table from coaching many firms like you, our own experiences, and more. Now, initially, this webinar topic was inspired from the findings in our 2025 benchmark report. You also, if you don't have a copy of that, can get yourself one. I'll actually pop a link in the chat now. And that 2025 benchmark report was released earlier this year. And in that report, we ask a range of questions. You know, what are your biggest challenges? What are your opportunities? And so on. Before I go into the findings of that, I just also want to point out there, to be completely transparent with you, we have a mission to help as many accounting firms as we can. And so you'll notice over on the right-hand side there of this particular slide, we want to be able to give you the opportunity to have a chat with us, to learn a bit more about what we see in your business and maybe provide you with some help. And so if you are more than $1 million in revenue now and you have 1 to 5 aligned partners, please book a strategy session with me. It's completely complimentary. We'll spend about 30 to 40 minutes together on that call. And you know what I will do with you on that call is I'll understand how your business is operating now. I will learn what your goals are. And then we'll talk through what challenges or concerns that you're having. I'll give you plenty of ideas to take away specifically for your business. And, we can take the conversation from there, whether you go off on your own or whether you'd like to explore what working with the Profit Time group would look like for you. So there's a QR code there. It will be all throughout today's presentation. And so if you're sort of thinking, yep, this is the moment, I need to have this conversation, maybe it's time to get some help in my business, book a session. I'd love to meet with you, have a chat with you as well. So back to the point here, which is all about your team. And the 2025 benchmark report actually revealed to us in the number 3 spot, the issue was finding people. And in the number 6 spot, the issue was actually team engagement. So it came up twice here. If you've listened to my previous masterclasses, we have covered off on the topics of efficiency and how to create more capacity in your organization. And we've also talked about your A-class clients. So we have talked about those 2 big issues before now. And today we're focusing on team. It's interesting too that in the benchmark report, not only were they listed as key issues, but they also came up as key opportunities for you. And so the opportunity here was team development. It's no surprise that if we were to engage with our team to train them and develop them, well, we might not have to find as many new ones because we would be retaining them for longer and providing, career pathways and that sort of thing. Another reason that I am super excited to be talking to you today on this particular topic is because when we delivered our most recent round of boardroom meetings for our Profit Time members, we did that in September. We learned from them also that there were plenty of matters relating to team for them that was still very much a real current priority problem to solve. Here's a couple of pictures of those groups that we worked with. We work with a number of groups when we do head over to the USA and Canada. I've got a really good selfie arm, as you can see. We do try to take as many photos as possible, but it's also quite a busy time. Now, in the boardroom meetings that we host, one of my favorite segments is actually our brainstorm segment. And we ask the question, where can we help you get unstuck in your business right now? And there was a theme in September, and it undeniably kept repeating in every session that we hosted. There was team motivation, team engagement, team efficiency, team development, structure, recruitment, retention. And on the surface, they look like separate issues. And certainly in boardroom, we treat them as separate issues. We're addressing them because this is unique to each individual firm. But in reality, they're all actually connected. And the truth is, when we're actually coaching on the topic of team and all those extras, motivation, engagement, efficiency, and so on, we're actually coaching on the topic of leadership. And you can see here in our Profit Time program that among our 4 key areas of development, where we've got fix, minimize, scale, and lead, it's actually under lead where we address almost all of the matters of team, with things like meeting rhythms and organizational structure, team culture and reporting and accountability, team performance, and so on. Because how we lead and develop our team is going to dictate or determine the future of how this business runs, and even in some cases, how this business runs without you. And so if you want a business that is profitable, sustainable, doesn't rely on you, you must invest deeply, heavily into building a high-performance team. You have to. Now, this particular slide talks about where we often see firms or business owners on their journey. And the first level is the practice owner level. But generally, we know that the practice owner, they've been grinding it out. They've been working a lot in their business, and they do want to grow this into something more like a business where it's actually being run by many people, not just solely reliant on them. And so if you are a practice owner and you're wanting to grow, today's session is going to have a heap of value for you. Certainly around, as we said, the top of your team. If you're a business owner and you're struggling, maybe you keep hitting a glass ceiling, you're stagnating, maybe you're really struggling to get that additional capacity, work with your team, etc. Today is definitely for you as well. Even if you are somebody who's got all this stuff sorted, you're on the call today, you're an investor in your business, and it doesn't really rely on you, then there'll still be something in here that you can share with your teams, even if it's to validate your current performance or even enhance your continued success. So, on the topic of your team, one of our Profit Time graduate members, Shannon, she visited actually one of our boardroom sessions last month. We were in Michigan, and she lives not far from where we were hosting a session. And so she came along and joined us. Now, we call her a graduate because she's no longer coaching with us, because she had set a goal when she came to work with us and achieved that goal. So she's a graduate. In 2 years flat, she was able to remove herself from her accounting business completely. And we were so lucky that she came for a visit, because we basically sat her down and said, right, give us a treat, tell us exactly how you did it. I've documented about 21 key points of all the things, but I'll share with you 2 of them. And the story to success started with, number 1, she said, first up, I committed to doing everything I was told to do. And that's by us, which is great. And she's got other influences and networks as well. So she did everything she was told to do. And number 2, she invested heavily in her team and the processes that ran her organization in order to support them to be successful. And she went on to tell us that she mentored her team to actually become students of business. So she had a whole mindset around this. She equipped them with frameworks for decision-making, autonomy, and leadership. And naturally, the results followed, and they followed fast. So I'm going to share some ideas that perhaps you can implement and get some fast or quick wins or results as well. Now, the first thing about finding great people that I want you to consider is that finding great people is a marketing exercise. Yes, it is a HR function, and we can, put a job advert out there or let our friends and family know we're recruiting. But if you really want to be successful, you want to think of this as a marketing exercise. So the first thing that I would consider is define your A-class team member. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the first question is, you could ask yourself about the members on your team right now is, would you enthusiastically rehire everyone on your team? It can be quite a confronting question. Hopefully the answer is yes for all of you, hopefully. And then from that, I would say to you, well, an A-class person is likely demonstrating a great attitude. They likely have a growth mindset and definitely share the values of your company. Absolutely. Another thing I think gets away from us is what we tolerate. And so what I would suggest around defining the A-class team member is just ensure there's no mediocrity on the bus. The bus, so to speak. The bus is your business vehicle, right? No mediocrity. And when you're thinking about new potential A-class team members, you might like to model your definitions or ideals on your current team. What's great about them? What works really well? What's a great fit? What does this person need to, what attributes do they need to bring in order to fit into this family, so to speak? Which brings us to number 2, and that's culture fit. I talked about what does this person bring to us. This goes both ways. We're often, particularly in hiring people, in a bit of a position of lack or scarcity. It's like we really need to hire someone. But it should go both ways in that that person is keen and excited to be working with you as well. And I want to say here, what are they telling you? In the new book that Rob's released, Profit and Time, he does say hire for mindset first, because you can train on skill, but you can't train an attitude, right? Attitude it's inherent. And so you want to be able to evaluate the culture fit. Are they reliable? Are they curious? Can they demonstrate accountability and responsibility? And you might be thinking, well, how do I do that? Quite simply, through a series of questions that will demonstrate examples or experiences of this. So it is a good idea to go back and revisit the kind of questions that you're asking in your interview process, on your job advert, because the quality of your questions will determine the quality of the information that you get. The third idea here is your proposition to potential new talent. And you have to ask yourself quite objectively, why would a top performer join your business? Why would they? Why should they? And they might not know anything about you. And so when I said earlier that this is a marketing exercise, you need to sell your purpose. You need to sell the vision. Let them know about the flexibility and leadership that you offer. Showcase success stories, showcase your culture, showcase the freedom that your current team has. What makes you great? What makes you an employer of choice? Are you applying for awards? Best business in the. So one thing that we did was we developed a company prospectus, and that outlines everything from who we are, what we do, what our values are, our mission, and what our goals are. And then relevant to the particular role that we're looking for, we will contextualize how that person fits into the overall business picture. So consider your firm's value proposition. Number 4, we should have a mindset that we're always recruiting. And how might we do that? For starters, quite obvious, what's on your website? What are we actually presenting? Is there a careers page? Is there a learn more about us? What are we showcasing? And so when we think or speak in marketing talk, we're gonna use a funnel as a visual here. First and foremost, at the top of the funnel is that people are aware you exist. How are you making your firm visible to these great candidates that are out there? Now, remember, the best of them are going to be employed. You might get a lucky quick win where they might be transient, moving across country, between states. They've had a big life change. Sure. Most of them will be employed. So how do you make yourself visible to them? So you want to think like a marketing expert here. Adverts. Are we doing sponsorships? Are we showing up in places? I recently did a big trail running event, did a 100-kilometer event through the bush. Took me quite some hours. A lot of fun, though. And at one of the water stations, there was a local gym that has just opened up, and they had about 7 representatives from that gym in their branded shirts, helping the runners fill their water bottles, get the supplies that they needed to be able to go on into their trail race. They essentially gave their time, they volunteered, or they, if you like, sponsored. Next up in the funnel is engagement. Show people why you're a great place to grow. My next career move is going to be with these people. Why? Because they look fun, they're innovative. Maybe consider a video. Next up is consideration. And that's where you're screening them for culture fit and their level of ambition. Maybe at this point in the funnel, maybe they could submit an application to you. Maybe you invite them. Hey, you might not be looking for work right now, but are you interested in at least having a chat with us to see what's on offer? Because if we're always hiring, it might be that we meet someone now who's not ready now. Think of it like a sales process, but they might be ready later. Into selection. What's your process for selection? It's important as we start to go down to the bottom of the funnel that we're thinking, well, what happens next? If we're doing a big launch and it's a job advert per se, then you might think about group interviews. Are we going to use things like scorecards or call on references? And definitely, are we asking for demonstrated experience in the questions that we ask? And right down the bottom of the funnel, but as important as the top of the funnel, is your onboarding strategy. Can you, at the outset, share with a team member with absolute clarity and confidence how they know they've made a great decision, how they know they'll be on track, the support that they're going to get to set themselves up so that they can be off and running as quickly as possible? What's your onboarding process look like? And so even if you don't have the talent and you're desperately looking, you should still be thinking about your selection and your onboarding. And the fifth one here is, no surprises, onboarding. So with onboarding, I like to also think about timelines. And just as an example here, we might have a goal with our onboarding process that the first week is all about connection, connecting in with the team, getting to learn our language, how we do it here, how we use our software. Maybe by month one, the goal is contribution. Give them tasks that they can be autonomous in really quickly. We know that there can be a 4 to 6 month learning curve. We also know there's different skill sets and experiences and that sort of thing, but give them things that they can win at straight away. And then they'll have that sense of contribution. By month 3, maybe the goal is confidence. They have a clear pathway of achievement. They understand the 3 R's. We're reflecting back on how far we've come, we're reviewing the current moment, and we're replanning my next 3 months here with you. So have a think about what your timeline or your milestones are within your onboarding process. And so a question for you too here is, where's your biggest hiring gap? Actually, put it in the chat. Where's your biggest hiring gap right now? Is it that you need to fix your onboarding process because, maybe we just don't give people a quick start? Is it that we haven't even defined our A-class people? Let me know. Pop it in the chat. That way I also know you're still listening and haven't fallen asleep yet, and that this content is actually landing for you. It's cool. Andrea says it's about actually defining them. We need to think about it. That's right. All right. Number 2, or part 2. And this is about culture by design. Culture by design will give you freedom. I showed that slide earlier around, I'm a practice owner, I'm a business owner, I'm an investor. Well, the key defining element there is how much this business relies on you. And so if you can design this, you'll create some freedom for yourself. And so one of the first things that you could consider doing is what we call the 5-question team audit. And the 5-question team audit is along the lines of, would we enthusiastically rehire them? But do we have the right people? Are they motivated and they're contributing ideas? Do they know what to do? Have we given them clear roles and metrics? Do they know how to do it here? They're familiar with our systems, they're using our processes, they're meeting expectations. Are we actually providing the environment and leadership that lets them shine? That's the 5 questions. Because that then allows you to take an inner look at you and your leadership first, and then be able to, maybe fill any gaps, improve those things. The second one is culture your way. And in the book Profit and Time that Rob's just released, he says, design your culture so that your firm can run without you. And that might mean that you're making some decisions for yourself here too. Be intentional about your culture. Document your service standards, your culture standards. Share them with the team. I've had them given to me at the time of signing an employment contract. Do you agree to adhere to and live by these service standards? We also need to think about things like remote team and offshore team. How do we make them all feel involved and a part of the culture on a regular basis? I also want to highlight work environment and flexibility here. Do we have an inspiring office, or are we providing a remote and hybrid work setup? What are we actually offering? You can actually cut back a lot of wasted time by not having team members commute, but you can add in then dedicated connection time, like in person 3 catch-ups per year, and it's scheduled in. There's no question around it. It's 3 times a year. We all gather together off-site, do planning, meetings, team development, whatever that looks like. Build it into your culture, schedule it in. In the absence, or not in the absence, outside of those 3 suggested team catch-ups per year, maybe you have a 1-hour social. It's a Zoom or a Teams link, and you literally just get on, and there are rules. We don't talk about work. You must tell us about a goal you have or something you did on the weekend, and it's a social. Something we do really well here is we're all remote, we're all working solo. We will actually set up a Zoom meeting and say, hey, do you want to work together? And so we've literally got each other on screen, and we could be chatting, but we're also working. And then we're asking, oh, hey, I'm just stuck on this language, what would you put here? Or we're just brainstorming together. So think about what you're doing to help connect in that work environment. What career development and growth are you offering? Now, we want to make sure that our team have 70% in training and development of soft skills. Do they communicate well with each other and with your clients? How do they present to the clients? Are they advising? Do they know how to ask great questions, even if they don't know how to present an idea or a project back? What kind of training are you actually providing in your organization, whether that's led by you as the leader, or we have some external people come in on a regular basis? What kind of external influence? Before this webinar today, I actually delivered a topic of training to 5 of our member firms and all of their team members. There was like 80 people on the call. And so we did a little workshop, we learned about some things, and then I sent them away into breakout rooms to brainstorm. Are you doing something like that regularly? Are we giving our team members client exposure, or do we think that they can't handle it? Some of our best emerging accountants actually sat in administration roles. I may not have mentioned this. I worked in accounting firms for 14 years. And once we had developed all of our systems and processes and had our right people in the right seats, anytime a new accountant joined our firm, we would have them learn the administrative processes. That way they got to know our team members, they got to know our clients, they got to know how we did it here. We should be encouraging learning and autonomy. We want them to make decisions. We don't want them to be knocking on the door every 5 minutes. Can you help me with this? What would you do in this situation? And encourage it. And think about a training register. We know there's not enough hours in the day to work and train all the time. But if the training is locked in and scheduled in on regular recurring basis, I'm sure every single time you present a job to your team, your team presents a job, they finish a job, they're working on something, taxes, accounting, advisory. I'm sure in review, we come up with ideas for training. If that team member needs training on something, then perhaps every team member does. So think about adding it to the register. And you might even like to group your trainings. Perhaps it is soft skills, week 1. Week 2 is technical, updates, new laws, changes. But not only training, why not take an opportunity to brainstorm with the team? All right, team, there's a new law that's being passed. It means this for our clients. Make sure you know how to do it. These are the steps. That's fine. But what about then taking that one step further and saying, team, what's the opportunity for our clients here? Now, your one big, beautiful bill, did you present that as an opportunity to every single one of your clients who were eligible? Training is valuable. Number 5, reward, recognition, and accountability. Are we paying above average? Are we celebrating wins? If we're having issues or, there is mediocrity, then take the approach of coaching that team member. But if it's still continuing, don't tolerate or settle, act upon it. Culture will beat strategy. It is amazing how when something goes haywire or we get a little challenge, that the right culture and the right team will rise to meet that. And they'll problem solve it. They'll solve it for you. And this is one of the things we often hear from business owners. It's lonely at the top. It all stops with me. I'm the one that's got to take that awful phone call at the end of the day. Well, not if we build a great culture. We're clear on our missions, our values. Our team members have autonomy, control, responsibility, and accountability. So think about how we keep them and grow them. Couple more things on culture, because I think culture is the crux of it, right? Like if we're really clear and solid in our culture and who we are, then that allows us to be able to promote ourselves. That allows us to be able to create that company prospectus, to make promises to our team members. So a couple of things about your culture that I'd like you to think about and maybe adopt. They are your team, not staff. Team is think of a football game. Every person has a unique responsibility on the field. The goal is to get the ball through the goalposts. And we need to use all sorts of team analogies in order to achieve the goal. So why not call them team? We adopt that with our profit time members as a non-negotiable. You might also like to consider the behavior of your team. That's setting your standards, performance standards, culture standards. What kind of accountability is around how our team performs? Now, my preference here is actually internal accountability. It's accountability through every step in the process. Things like a job would not be reviewed by the manager unless the team member had ticked all of these boxes. And all of these boxes do get to be defined by you. But one example we use in our workflow process is, what ideas did we come up with to help the client with their business? So as you're processing their financial accounts, it is a non-negotiable question. Can I identify anything here? Notice anything? Is there something that I should address with the client now that I've processed their work? And so you would build that in as an accountability measure. Has the team member identified something they could help the client with? If not, the job doesn't get reviewed. Team member, go back, tick that box. So I much prefer internal accountability and ownership rather than a bit of a stick approach, if you like. But sometimes it's necessary. Consider your office. Is it a bit old and crammed or dusty or cluttered? What are you offering? Like, why would a top performer come and work for you? What is the remote environment that you provide as well? Have you implemented some fun into the organization? We talk about themes and rewards. Maybe in tax season, we all become construction workers. We don some hard hats. We decorate the office with roadwork signs or flags, something that makes a really tough time fun. So think about theming up particular times of the year to help motivate your team and visually remind them of what they're striving for. In that, are we building in some rewards, rather than, and I've heard this, I've got to give an end of year bonus and I just don't know this year, how do I calculate it? Like, if you have to think about how you calculated it, you didn't put your planning in the front end. And so instead of that laborious task that feels really heavy, why not think about incremental rewards along the way? Hey team, if we get all tax returns done and dusted 5 days before the deadline, I'm going to put X into the kitty and we're going to distribute that. Make it fun. Make it something that they can work towards. No mediocrity. Do not settle. It's a no. If you've been doing it, stop it. Even if you don't have capacity, brainstorm what your next steps will be and stop tolerating that. And the big question, would you enthusiastically rehire them? It's a great question. This is how one of our boardroom members demonstrates their values. They have a SPADE value here. They're selfless, they are proactive, they are adaptable, dependable, and ethical. This is all about worth, who we are, how we operate. Here's another example that I actually took a photo of near my local gym. We are people first. We do the right thing. We are courageous, and we have fun and laughter. That's really cool. That's up on their wall. I see that through. To me, I'm like, oh, wow, that's warm and inviting. Also, on your culture, think about developing a set of your own culture standards. This is one that we had years and years ago, largely prepared by the leadership and further innovated by the entire team. And this is what it boiled down to. To look at number 15, to be a part of our team, you must live our values and follow our client and culture performance standards to the letter. Every team member is empowered to correct any other team member who's not living and adhering to them. We once had, it was a lady who came in a long time after me, but sort of worked her way up, and she was in somewhat of a management role. And there was one afternoon, and she was actually speaking ill of another team member in front of me and someone else. And I was totally empowered to speak up and say, hey, perhaps that's something you could take into a closed room. I don't think it's appropriate for the rest of us to hear that. And, it's not stepping in and defending that person. It's not telling the manager they're wrong for the things they're saying. It's just saying, hey, let's just have a basic level of respect here, some integrity. So what are your culture standards? Go and create them. Ritz-Carlton does this really, really well. They have service standards. Now, by the way, you should create both. They're two separate things. Culture is your internal, how we gel together and operate and perform as a team. Then there's service standards, and that's what our clients experience. The Ritz-Carlton have like a fold-out concertina card, and it's in the pockets of every single team member. And this is what's on it. Their 3 steps of service, their motto, the employee promise, their credo. It goes on. Their service values. I am responsible for uncompromising levels of cleanliness and creating a safe and accident-free environment. Super clear. So if you don't have culture standards or service standards, that's on your to-do list. So going back to cultivating this your way, and we talked about your work environment and flexibility earlier. What are you offering? The next piece then is career development and goals. I talked about training. I talked about a training register. How do we keep growing that register? How do we make sure we're consistent in training? The amount of times I have heard teams say, oh, we dropped the ball on training. Why is that? Oh, we got busy, so, we just would cancel those meetings. People would say, do we really need to have this meeting? We need to flip the mindset. If you don't invest in yourselves first, the wheels will come off in how you are delivering and presenting to your clients. Make it a non-negotiable. And then, of course, I talked about those rewards, recognition, and accountability. So, ton of ideas in there, right? Some of them you may have already thought about. Perhaps you've heard them before. Maybe there's some new ones in there for you. But really, when you come along to these masterclasses or give me your time, and all of you are giving me, close to 40 minutes now, to make it most valuable for you, you really now have to ask yourself, well, what's my next step? Where would I begin? This stuff's been valuable. I do have a challenge or a problem right now I need to solve. So where might I start? I would definitely recommend you turn inward first as a leader, and you ask yourself the 5 questions. Do we have the right people? Are they motivated and contributing ideas? Do they know what to do? They've got clear roles and metrics. Do they know how to do it? As in, there are great systems and expectations set up for them. And are we providing the environment and leadership that helps them to shine? Basically, how are we setting them up for success? And so that's straight up, that's your 5-question team audit. The second thing that I would do is either draft them if you don't have them, or refresh your culture and service standards. We were guilty of this just recently. We have culture and service standards, absolutely, but we haven't talked about them for quite some time. So they're coming out. We're doing a range of great team building days at the moment. By the way, this is remote. And we're going over our culture and service standards. And by the way, it's fun, right? Because it's who we are, it's our brand, it's our value. You know, many of us don't wear uniforms to represent our brand, but there is something about putting on that shirt with that logo and you go out in public and you say, I am a part of this. This is who I belong to. This is who I am representing. One of the earlier ones that I said to you that could be a really great action step for you here is to build your funnel. What's your marketing plan? That's essentially what it is. What is your marketing plan to find great talent? And the fourth one here, I would consider, as we're approaching the end of the year, why don't we put something in front of the team? Why don't we theme it up? Why don't we get some energy happening here? Because here's what I see from the seat that I sit in. You guys come out of October 15, it's like, whoa, that sucked. It was, some of you do really well, by the way. But for some of you, it's like really taxing and you take a week to recover or so. And then we're like, right, we've got this end of year push. And then before we know it, we're in tax season. And you guys do, honestly, in America and Canada, I take my hat off to you, how hard you work in your tax season. Very different here in Australia. But what happens is burnout. You guys push, 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 push. You might be gifted or granted an extension or a deadline, for whatever reason. And then we just push that workflow out even more. But inevitably, you come to a crash. You come to a stop. And that takes time out of your business. That takes time out of your progression, away from your numbers, away from your improvement. And so how could we make that just a little bit better this season? Let's have some fun with it. Let's do some visual representation. Let's put a reward in place. Team, if we can do this. Now, you may never have had all your work done 5 days before the deadline. Sure, it might feel like an impossible task. But if we could have all our work done, what systems, procedures, or processes might we put into place so that we can achieve it? Think about it. Sometimes we just need to get out of the same mindset and get into something like, but if we could, what would it look like? We do so much of that in the work that we do here with our Profit Time members. And the fifth one here, the fifth one is actually your organizational structure. You need to be really clear on, and I've said this over and over, who your people are, the roles that they occupy or the seat that they sit in, that they have clear position descriptions, clear KPIs, and that we are always investing in them, investing in their success, investing in their future. I mean, otherwise, why would they stay? If there's no opportunity here, if there is no growth, take this back to the 6 basic human needs. In your organization, do they feel like they are contributing? Do they feel like they are growing? Do they feel like they are connecting with others? Take it back to that and ask yourself these questions. This is what our organizational and accountability chart looks like that we work with all of our members. And it's very different to some of the standard organizational charts I see come out of accounting firms. And so if you haven't ever seen this and if you'd like a copy of this, I've actually got our assistant Brian on the webinar today. So if you'd like a copy, just comment org or yes, please. And Brian will personally email this to you after the webinar today. It's editable. So this first page is our example of all of the roles and KPIs and the focus of that department. And then the second page is actually an editable version for you where you can pop the names of your team members in. Now, when you're considering that, there's a chance that right now you will notice that you or some team members might be wearing multiple hats. And the thing about wearing multiple hats is, I guess you kind of become a part-time version of that role. And if you're only part-time in that role, you're probably getting part-time results, really. I find this in my work. When I am heavily on client delivery, it leaves very little space for creativity. And so if somebody said, oh, Wendy, we want you to present something to our team, you choose the topic and you put it together. If I've been bogged down, and not bogged down, by the way, because I love what I do, but if I have a calendar that is full of client delivery, I don't have the space to be creative. And so you want to think about that in your organizational structure too. Do we have enough capacity in these areas? Do we have enough people in these areas? You'll notice that we've got a revenue, a fulfillment, and a support category there, departments, if you like. And they all feed back to, ideally, somebody in the role of business manager or operations manager. And then you'll notice you, as the business owner, are sitting up there at the top, and your responsibility is vision and strategy every single day. What is the vision of this business? Are we executing our strategy? Are we innovating? Am I leading? Am I helping? Do I have a team of successful people delivering successful results to our clients? This is why I love accounting, right? Like, you get to go first. You get to be the leader in your organization first. You get to create a high-performing business, and then you get to share that with your clients. Hey, client, we're doing really great in the area of profit. We're doing really great in the area of cash flow. We're doing really great in how we serve our clients and customers. Let's take a look at your business and apply some of those to you. It's fun. Okay, cool. I can see a lot of you want the organizational chart. That's great. Brian, I can see Brian's big smile from here. He would be so happy to email you all. Now, just on that topic, we have a new brand. We were Profitable Partners. We are now Profit Time. So if you don't get that email, and I know for certain Brian will be on that today, if you do not get that email, please check your spam, because we are a new email address and it may not be landing in your primary inbox. So I just want to say that in advance. If you don't get an email at all, please email me, wendy@profittime.co. and I will make sure that that happens for you as well. We want you to have access to these things. We want you to improve your business in ways that help you achieve success, that helps you reduce your time, that helps you create a sustainable business, one with legacy. So, teams, it's been my pleasure to help you today. If you would like to have a personal strategy session with me, I have capacity, I have availability. If you are more than $1 million in revenue, there's reasons for that, that we have that limit there. It's so that we can actually help you. If you have 1 to 5 aligned partners, very, very difficult if you're not aligned. And you're ambitious and coachable. You actually want to hear some new ideas and some help to move forward. Please book your time. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to work with you, talk with you, help you. And, hey, if we do get to work together professionally, properly in the future, that would be our honor as well. So team, I do hope you've got a ton of ideas from today. Email me, let me know, what have you implemented? What changed? What did you love about it? I would love to hear from you. And, we're going to be performing these masterclasses all throughout the year. I'm keen to talk with you guys and share as much information as I can with you. So please go ahead. I hope to meet with you on Zoom soon. If not, keep attending the masterclasses. Love to have you here. And we'll let you go and wish you all the best for your upcoming end of year and tax season. And I'll see you again on the next masterclass. Take care, everybody.